Hey guys, Jessica here. So today we're going to talk about the Phanpy E2 Joy. It's E-Joy S2 wearable pump. It's sold on Amazon. Right now it's priced at $89.99 with a 30% off coupon, which is consistent with what I normally see. I've never actually seen it at full price. It's always been a 10 to 30% off coupon. So it's just a standard. This is a motor. This is your motor. This is your cup. If you are a Phanpy cup user, you'll recognize that these are just the standard Phanpy cups, nothing super fancy. What is cool with this pump is that this is a smart pump. So it's fully app controlled. You have the ability to control it on an app on your phone. The app is nothing fancy. It just allows you to read what's going on with the pump, and it allows you to toggle up and down in between the different settings. You have 3 different modes on this pump. So you have your standard stimulation, your standard expression, and then you have a mixed mode, which is just that combination of short pulls and long pulls. I'm actually really impressed with this pump. We're not looking at this pump comparing it to our Zomi Fits and our Willow Goes and our Willow 360s. It's simply not going to compete with that. And there are limitations to this cup and motor design. This cup with motor design is somewhat clunky, and for a lot of people, when we are wearing it in the bra likes to cut right here, and it can push the motors up. Now, I will say, watch how much, I have to really put some pressure behind that. This snaps into place. It's not exposed to the full diaphragm, which I do really like that. I think that the full exposed diaphragm with the motor sitting down directly on it is probably a very vulnerable design. This is definitely less vulnerable. It does snap in pretty well. It has the double sealed flange, which is really popular. This is something we see a lot on Mom Cozy right now, and moms do like it. I really like it. What it does is it helps to minimize how much pressure is against the breast tissue. When we talk about wearables and we talk about them only being 80 to 90% as efficient as a traditional flange, a lot of that is related to that backwards pressure against the breast. This double sealed flange does help us reduce some of that inefficiency. But they also have a full length tunnel, which I really appreciate as a lactation consultant, because so many of these pump companies are like, oh, in order to get that lower profile moms are asking for, we're just going to cut it down to the fact that most human nipples are going to be too long for this design. I don't like that. That's a really crappy thing when companies do it. They didn't do it, so I do really like that. Phanpy is not a new brand, and they're not an off-brand from what I can tell. It just appears to be a manufactured line. It appears to be somehow related with Similry. I think Similry may actually be the manufacturer of Phanpy, but Phanpy is just a less well-known in the US brand. It does seem to be really popular over in some of the different Asian countries. And then I think it's also pretty popular in India. I could be wrong on that, but I have had a couple clients from India and they were using Phanpy pumps. So I think it's pretty easy to get there. I don't know how if they're importing them or not. So sometimes not always easy to find out. But with this one, it is pairing really good cycle speeds with good suction. It did top out at 290, which means 250 is really where we want to see a pump go to. If a pump cannot sustain 250, then we have a lot of people who may not be able to use it. That is the kind of cutoff where we've said, like, below 250 is really just not enough suction. We want the pump to be able to handle. Now, does everybody need 250? Absolutely not. Most people are actually about 150. That's going to be our starting point for most pumps. Some people are actually lower. This one has really good suction. The cycle speeds are great. It's very easy to use. The app just does what it's supposed to. There's not a lot to say about the app. It's very, very basic. This is not a luxury pump, but again, it's not a luxury price point. All in all, of pumps that you can buy on Amazon for less than $100, I like this wearable. If you do not have an issue with the cup and motor design, I think it's great. And then the real benefit there is, let's say that this just doesn't work out for you. And that's always a risk. But, you know, if this Baby Bliss, which we just recorded a video on this, if the Baby Bliss doesn't work out, I can't salvage it. This whole thing doesn't work out. It's just integrated to where you can't just pop this off and turn this into a cup. With this one, what you're getting is the ability to turn this into just a cup. So you can just use this with your standard pump. So if this wearable doesn't work out, but you like the cup, you still have the cup option. I think that's kind of a really good deal. And at this price point, honestly, it's barely more than just buying the cups to get the pump. So you might want to consider getting the pump and trying out the pump because this is a pretty decent pump. I have not gotten a lot of complaints about this burning out. This motor, Phanpy tends to have decent quality motors. They have a lot of pumps that are on the faster cycle side, and we're not seeing a lot of burnout with their motors. I don't love some of their portable pumps. We'll do reviews on them later. There's like 30 pumps still waiting to be reviewed, but I don't love their portable pumps because the suction pattern just isn't quite what I would hope for. I do love their cups, and I do really like this motor. So I think this is definitely something you can happily consider. And at this price point, I think you're gonna be very happy with what you get. I think this is a good value for the money you're spending. So let me know your questions, let me know your thoughts, and happy pumping.